It all starts in Japan and ends in a complete transformation of the global financial system. The last 48 hours have marked a critical shift in the United States, where the FDIC has now greenlit more than 4,500 banks to interact with digital assets without needing prior approval. This means a fundamental change is underway, and it's no longer a matter of speculation. The key question is which companies are ready, which players have the licenses, the infrastructure, the global reach. Ripple stands out with over 50 money transmitter licenses in the US alone and long-standing relationships with institutions covered by the FDIC, including Bank of America. These developments come just after an executive order from Trump to modernize the US payment system and recent announcements from the OCC suggesting that banks can begin engaging with crypto-related activities like custody services. Everything from the FDIC to the OCC seems tailored for Ripple, and that's not a coincidence. Figures like Michael Barr and Sandy O'Connor, both of whom held roles at the Federal Reserve and FDIC, are now directly tied to Ripple. The financial system is laying the foundation for massive consolidation. In the coming years, the U.S. might end up with just 10 to 15 megabanks as smaller regional banks get absorbed. Meanwhile, we'll witness a similar concentration in the digital asset space, where well-managed projects survive and others fade out. This is all part of a bigger picture. Traditional banks aren't worried about competing with each other. They're worried about tech giants like Meta and X stepping into finance with fully digital infrastructures. And to stay competitive, these banks need distributed ledger technologies to reduce costs and innovate. Ripple has been building toward this moment for years. In fact, back in 2015, they were already part of the steering committee for the Faster Payments Task Force, working alongside the U.S. Treasury, Mastercard, Nacha, and the clearinghouse. This level of regulatory and institutional engagement is what sets Ripple apart now. There's no guarantee that 2025 will be the full launch of the utility market, but the regulatory groundwork is being laid, and the digital financial system is taking shape. Projects that comply with ISO 20022 are in the spotlight, but compliance alone isn't enough. What matters is actual adoption and integration. There are still vulnerabilities to the fusion of digital assets with traditional banking brings risks. We don't yet know how the system will react if Bitcoin drops 70% again, or if a new collapse like Terra Luna or FTX happens. But now that ETFs are live, the connection between these two ecosystems is deeper than ever. Some experts believe real adoption will only happen through a crisis. The groundwork is ready, but the spark could be unexpected, fast, and even dramatic. And that's exactly what makes this period so critical. Interestingly, one of the authors of a major 2024 policy paper, Pablo de Azar, publicly disclosed exposure to Monero and XRP. He works at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and is just one example of how deep these connections go. When we talk about transitioning to a utility-driven market, it's likely to happen in phases. Some sectors like derivatives might flip all at once, others may roll out more gradually. What matters is that once a segment makes the switch, it won't go back. The shift to real-time settlement, T3 to T2 to T1, and finally T0, is happening fast. When DLT tech is integrated via APIs, things will change rapidly, and Ripple's ecosystem is well positioned for that role. New projects will emerge, some we never expected. Projects like Onda were barely known, and now they're everywhere. The reality is we won't spot all the winners in advance, but those building quietly behind the scenes will soon be front and center. XRP, XLMBAR, SHX, and others have been on our radar for a reason, but they're not the only ones. Stay open, because the next wave of utility could come from where you least expect. If this gave you value, consider subscribing and staying connected. We cover the digital asset space with a focus on the controlled transition of the financial system into distributed ledger technology, including everything from XRP to CBDCs and beyond. See you in the next one.